Hey guys, it's Peter Chen making another 500 Zoom video. So on table 2, the button opened and I called. I could 3-bet this hand sometimes too. On this flop, I don't want to be doing a lot of raising, but with my hand, I think it's a raise a lot of the time. This is probably one of our best hands to raise other than maybe pocket twos. Table 1, I'm going to open pocket threes. And on table 2, opening kings from the button. And on the king queen 5 flop, I think we're going to be doing a lot of big betting. My hand got quite a bit weaker on this turn, but I still have a bunch of ace-x that I think are a better bet than this. Maybe I'm supposed to bet pocket threes sometimes anyways. On the river, just folding to the bet. On table 1, opening cutoff with 8-6 suited. And on table 2, opening queen jack from the button. On table 1, I'm going to 3-bet ace jack suited, small blind versus cutoff, and on table 2, calling the 3-bet. I'm going to continue on table 1 with either small or medium size. I think this queen jack is pretty close. But I think on an ace high flop, we don't have to be defending that many non-paired hands. Table 1, opening king 9 from the button. And on table 2, opening threes. I'm going to call this 3-bet with threes. It's probably mixed. Maybe if I don't open every combo of threes, I have to call it pure. And facing a half pot bet, I think I have to call again. Turn improved me a little bit. I think it's improved me enough that I have to call now. I'll be folding like all the 2 over cards with the backdoor draw that I have. On table 2, defending the big blind against early position open with queen jack off. And I'm going to be mostly calling this maybe raising it sometimes. And against the overbet, I'll just be pure calling. And if he bets big on this river, I can fold. Alright, I can fold even to a smallish bet. On table 1, I opened the button with ace-3 suited. I could bet, or I could check this flop, I think. On table 2, 3-betting tens, small blind versus EP. Now we face a pretty big bet. I wonder if my hand gets to raise sometimes. I'm not sure. Calling is definitely good. And now I'm just checking back, I think. Not completely sure if my hand is weak enough to bluff. On table 1, opening ace-king under the gun. Table 2, defending big blind with queen-5 suited against a cutoff open. And on table 2, opening king-queen suited from cutoff. Against this 3-bet, I'll be 4-betting small amount of the time, mostly calling. On table 1, I called blind versus blind with 10-6 suited. On this flop, I'll be choosing to bet big, and my hand is probably always a check back. And on table 2, I'm going to be putting in a raise a decent amount of time with this hand. Maybe raising a third of the time and calling the rest. And I can either check or bet here. My hand's pretty good, but I don't think it's just a pure bet. I think I can go for a check raise again. It's about a pot-sized bet to put all the money in. Calling is probably also fine. On table one, I opened, bet the flop, check the turn. I like having the 9 in my hand to bet, but I think I just have a lot of weaker hands. Like I have a bunch of king high, queen high hands to bet. But the 7, 8, and 9 all being middle cards, really I just have king 10, queen 10, king 9, queen 9. This could be an okay bet, but I'm really not sure. On table one, opening cutoff with king 10 suited. On table two with this 10-9, I could call sometimes or three bet. I don't want to do a lot of calling, but I think this option's pretty decent. And I do want to have all the hands I'm supposed to have when I call instead of just sometimes I could think like this hand's an okay call or three bet and then always raise it, and then when I'm calling I always have like a hand like a low pocket pair. So I want to make sure I get these hands in there sometimes, and some king X suited. So after I check twice, I think my hand's strong enough to go for a big bet. On table two, I have ace jack. On table two with this 6-4, I'm going to be calling. I can maybe raise this a small amount at the time. And on table one, I'll call this min raise with queen 9. On table two with the 10-7, I'll raise a small amount of the time, but mostly calling. And folding to the flop bet. On table one, under the gun open, I called the button with 5s. And I'll be calling this small bet. On table 2, I 3-bet ace king against a short stack. The big blind cold called. I think my hand's okay to bet again. And with the 5s, I can either check or bet. This is a pretty tough spot on table 2, I think. On the turn, I can definitely fold. On table 1, opening the button with 10-7 suited. The short stack on the small blind calls me. And folding to this raise. On table 1, opening hijack with queen 8 suited. And folding to the 3-bet. On table 1, opening under the gun with with 8-7 suited. Could just fold this hand as well. On table 2, opening under the gun with king jack. I think I basically have to call any 3-bet with 8-7. Even though it's not a pure open, it's a lot better than other hands I open to call a 3-bet with. Like for example, if I had king 8 suited here, I would just fold it to pretty much any 3-bet. On table 2, I open 7s from the button, get 3-bet, going to call this hand. And face a pretty big bet. I think I always have to call once though. So we hit our set on the turn. And I think I can raise this sometimes or call sometimes. I'll just call this time. On table 1, I opened with King 7 suited. I'm basically just going to be betting small on this flop a lot and calling down with my 7s. So on the 5 turn, I think I want to be betting pretty big, and King 7 probably doesn't make it into a big bet range. I'll want to have a little more equity with my hand. But once it checks to the river, my hand is pretty weak, and now I can bet it. I shouldn't have anything that's jack high or lower because I would have bet it on the turn. Maybe I can have the one, 9-8 I think would be the only one I have a lot of the time. On table 2, I'm going to be 3-betting this ace-jack offsuit. I could call it as well, mostly calling, but 3-betting sometimes. On table 1, opening small blind with jack 10 off. And folding to the 3-bet. Table 1, opening ace queen off from under the gun. And maybe I can 4-bet this a small amount of the time, but I think it's mostly just a fold. It's possible I should call it as well. I'm not sure. On table 2, I opened the small blind, and I think this is a flop where I'll just be starting with a small bet most of the time. I think I have a pretty good hand with the king to go for a big bet now. Also, a pretty good turn card for me to be betting big a lot. So table 1, there's a limp. I'm going to check back my 10-7 in the big blind. And fold to this bet. I think this 9-2 is just the fold. On table 1, opening 8-7 suited. So on table 1, I opened King 10 from hijack. And I think on this flop, I'll be checking some of the time and mostly small betting. I think I want to keep betting my hand some of the time and checking sometimes. I want to make sure I don't just always have a heart when I bet. On table 1, the button opens. I'm going to 3-bet from the small blind with ace queen. And I think on this flop, I'm going to be mostly just putting in a small bet. I'm not sure if I have to call this ace-8 on table 2 or not. On table 2, on table 1, I open pocket 2s, get 3-bet. And I think this hand is probably mostly a fold. On table 1 with the Jack 10 suited, I'm going to call sometimes and 3-bet sometimes. Going for really big 3-bets from the big blind. Table 1, opening Jack 6 suited from the small blind. And on this flop, I'll be betting range for small size. I'm pretty sure this is a fold, but I have a backdoor straight draw and backdoor flush draw. On table 2, I open small blind with queen 3 suited, and I'll be betting small on this flop. I'll probably end the video after this hand unless something exciting happens on the other table. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you next week.